I'm the founder of the Pink Box. It is India's first and only marketplace for eco-conscious and sustainable period products. In India, only about 60% women have access to sanitary products. And that means about 40% are still using like rags and old cloth and dirty leaves and stuff as an alternative to period products.
Maybe around condoms there is a bit of taboo and everybody is like all shy about it, even though like we are the most populated country in the world.
Somebody I know has this very weird superstition. He, after sunset, don't throw out a used pad, which is extremely unhygienic. Don't ever do that.
Do you think schooling and education is missing a big part in the country?
PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a condition where cysts grow around your ovaries. PCOS is also a contributor to depression amongst Indian women. A lot of it is linked to, I think, how we view ourselves socially. In the first 3 weeks of the lockdown, sanitary pads did not come under the essential goods list that the government had put out. So there were a lot of women, especially in containment zones, who had no access to period products. And we worked with a couple of NGOs in India to actually deliver sanitary pads to these women.
Kids are often unknowingly very cruel.
I cried a lot. Have you ever been in a situation where you're sitting in a class and your period just appears and people laugh at you and you're like, oh no, I've stained my skirt? Not the two of you, I'm guessing, because you don't have your period, but that does happen to half the population out there. And this was one of the many experiences that I've been through and my friends have been through as we were growing up, which I think the little seedling of wanting to do something in the menstrual hygiene space, it's where it started. And in India, about 23% of schoolgirls drop out of school once they start menstruating because they don't want to go through that experience of having their period while they're at school, having all the discomfort and, leaking through their uniforms and stuff like that. And that's really scary, right? 23 is a big percentage of people dropping out just because of a simple biological process. And I really wanted to work on fixing that. I really wanted to work on raising awareness about periods, awareness about menstrual hygiene and reproductive health in general. So that's how I started the Pink Box. And we also curate period hampers to help menstruators have a happy and comfortable and hygienic period. And as women, we often tend to put ourselves, point number three, point number four on our to-do list. It's either our careers or our personal lives, and then like 10,000 other things, and then ourselves. So we wanted to help menstruators kind of put themselves at the top. We wanted to be that self-care, that go-to self-care guide for them. And yeah, like I mentioned, we started the Pink Box by curating these really cute subscription boxes. These arrive at your doorstep and they just help you have a happy and comfortable period. I work with nutritionists and medical professionals to curate this box. It's got healthy snacks without preservatives, healthy sweets, a couple of period pain relievers that are all natural. There are no drugs, there's no allopathic medication, and stress busters as well. Because, like I mentioned, we want people to put themselves at the top of their to-do list, especially when they're on their period. And we lose a lot of blood during our period, you guys. And along with that, a lot of iron as well. A lot of people are anemic and they don't even know about it. And we tend to treat periods as something that just happens and something that, it often gets looked over. But that those 5 days or shark week is when you need to give your body the utmost care and focus as well. So we help people do that. We help themselves kind of give their body that extra little punch during Shark Week.
Why the limited access? What do you think makes it such that despite this being a 50% of the population thing, there's a limited access?
The taboo around menstruation for sure. We'll get into a lot of drives that we've done on field later on. But statistics that I've read, I've actually seen that play out for reals as well. a lot of girls, when they get their period at the ages of 12 or 13, they're told by female members of the family कि पापा के आगे बात मत करना and भैया के सामने इसके बारे में बात मत करना and stuff like that. So there's a level of shame that's attached to menstruation. There are a lot of taboos around menstruation as well. Don't go to the kitchen, don't touch, kitchen things or like God stuff. Don't water plants. Hygiene trumps superstition, you guys. So yeah, the awareness and the taboos, because people don't talk about periods, there is this whole shame attached to it. Because of which, even going up to, going to a grocery shop or a chemist to buy periods can be a very funny experience for a lot of people. Given my familiarity with the urban context in India, that's what I want to focus on, and that's why I'm kind of basing the pink box in tier one and tier two cities in India. You would assume that people in urban India, they've got the education, they've got the awareness, they know what are superstitions, but why is it still a problem? It's the shame and the taboo, the stigma attached to it. A lot of us women have faced this situation where you go to you go to a grocery shop and you ask for a pack of pads, and they'll give it to you. First of all, they'll be all discreet about it, the shopkeepers, and then they'll give it to you. Then they'll wrap it up in a newspaper, and then they'll give it to you in a black bag, like a polythene bag. So they're trying to make it very trying to be discreet about it, but they also end up drawing a lot of attention to it, right? So that's very counterproductive. But that tends to be a very embarrassing experience for a lot of people. Here again is where we come in with the ping box. We tend to have these crazy schedules where we don't even track our menstrual cycles, and then rushing to your nearest store at the last minute can be a problem. So in our box, we also help, we deliver sanitary pads or tampons, menstrual cups in the box as well. The box is completely customized to what our consumers want, what menstruators want. But yeah, to answer your question, Akhil, it's mostly about the taboo and the stigma that surrounds people.
So, Sanjana, we spoke to a couple of people who've been working in the rural space, and you understand, okay, people in those areas are not as well educated, they don't have that much access. You're focusing on tier one and tier two, and you still see the very clear lack of education, very clear, let's not talk about it. Have you also seen a lot of that going around? What has that been like?
Right. We've had a couple of awareness drives in Mumbai and Pune, where we've tied up with the BMC schools and medical outposts, even orphanages, where we've worked with the medical practitioners, doctors, where we go to people who aren't as privileged or educated as us, and we talk about what is the biology behind menstruation, why you should maintain certain hygienic practices, and we even in 2020, even in 2021, we've got kids who are as young as 11, 12, coming up to us and saying, but my mom told me that you should not talk about this outside the house, or how do I wear this pad? My mom never told me. And it's not always female family members who have to help you with it, right? There can be male family members also talking to you about it. There's this lovely video on YouTube, actually. I'll try and send you the link, where the advertisers have imagined boys getting periods, and it's the exact same experience. Like, don't talk to the opposite sex about it. So yeah, it's a very prevalent problem in the urban context as well, Vishwa. Like I mentioned, people still say don't go to the temple, or don't. People also sit out, going to schools during their periods. Um, till this date, when I was in school till this to now, where we are in 2023, teenagers tend to get their periods in school, and boys aren't really aware of it. So if there's like a blood stain on somebody's skirt, they'll point it and laugh, and that can be really embarrassing when you're already in your teenage years, where everything is already out of whack, and you're kind of trying to find your footing, or trying to find yourself also. And that's another reason why, even in urban India, a lot of girls drop out of schools when they get their period. In colleges, the same thing. You don't always have access to menstrual hygiene products. A lot of families don't even let menstruating girls sleep on beds, and this is in urban India. This is in, you know, a lot of families that probably make up the top 10% in India. They don't allow their girls to sleep on the bed. They have to sleep on the floor. They're given their meals in another room. They're made to miss their college. They can't go and kind of give their exams in a very comfortable state of mind because they've had to sleep on the floor. They've not gotten time to study. They've been isolated from their family. So yeah, very prevalent in the urban Indian context as well.
We had an episode with Dave. He runs a company called the African Connection. This was my first encounter with getting to know that, I always assume this is such a biological thing and it must be wholly accepted. Like there are things about guys which are just, we just go about it and it's just wholly accepted. There's no taboo around stuff, right? Maybe around condoms there is a bit of taboo and everybody is like all shy about it, even though like we are the most populated country in the world. But Sanjana, David told us that there are women children in Africa, in Namibia, who are not able to attend 10% of the school year after year after year, and then they are left behind. Do you think schooling and education is missing a big part in the country regarding this? Do you think schooling should be better? Education should educate kids better and earlier regarding something including periods?
I just want to add to that and say that, kids are often unknowingly very cruel. You see in all these movies that are about, say, differently abled people or anything that looks at it where, unfortunately, because we condition it into kids so much that, this is normal, anything that's outside of normal is ridiculed. That's inherent. And we've seen this on numerous occasions in every single school and every country in all over the place. So definitely education is a big deal, but how do you educate people about something that they don't use in their everyday language? I remember I had sex education in, like, I think the ninth grade, and it was like, it was the joke of the month that, oh, 1 month later we're going to have this session. And it was like everyone was coming up with ways of, okay, how can we disrupt it, how can we make it even bigger of a joke?
Even biology books, yeah. Even in biology books, wherever there was the chapter about sex and the chapter about procreation, it was always a joke, and there would be dick pics drawn on top of that. And so it is difficult, like getting the message across to kids is a difficult task.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you're right, Akhil. I think we need to start educating kids at probably an age younger than like 12, 13. When we had those sex ed classes, we were probably 12. Um, but in the past couple of years, girls have actually been getting their periods as young as 9 and 10, right? So we don't really want them to wait 3 years until they learn about what it is. I personally know a lot of families where parents together sit with their kids and they talk to them about periods and they tell them it's as simple as peeing and pooping because, like you mentioned, Akhil, it is a biological process. It happens to everyone. It happens every month. If you didn't get it every month, that would be your body is signaling that there is an issue. We definitely need to start educating people really young. I remember when I was in school, there was an MNC that would come and give us this talk, and we would have like in the assembly hall, they would collect all the girls and just the girls, right? Like not the boys at all. And then they would be like, "This is a uterus, and this is this, and this is this." And that info as well, I think it was more of a marketing thing, obviously, because it's an MNC that's doing it. It wasn't very informative from what I remember. And surprisingly, it's still the same to this date. One of my mom's closest friends is a teacher, and she works with a really good ICSE school. And you would expect that, a decade to a decade and a half later, things have changed, but not really, it's still the same. And yeah, like Vishut mentioned, kids can be pretty cruel sometimes, the laughing, the jeering, the pointing, and being like, oh, look, she got a period. It can be really embarrassing. Um, it's happened to somebody I know as well, one of my best friends, and she didn't attend school for like 2 days after that because that's how embarrassed she was. But if she'd known what periods were, if our peers knew what periods were and how normal it is, maybe she wouldn't have been laughed at. Maybe she would have been supported, and that's what we need, right? Maybe, her friends would be like, no, I've got a pad, here you go. Somebody would have been like, okay, go to the nurse's office and, you'll get what you need. It's so important to start teaching kids young. Like I mentioned, I know people who started educating their kids at the age of 6 and 7. You talk about pee and you talk about poop, speak about periods as well. Um, Somebody I know has a son who's about 30, and he's an only child. So there was no real need in that sense for her, just generalizing Indian families. There was no real need for her to tell her son about what periods is because he's never going to get it right. But she still did. And she said, this happens to mama. And during her 5 to 6 days before her period when she's PMSing, right? If she's not in a great mood, he knows that, I'm not going to do too much musty today. I'm just going to let her be. He'll just be like, mom, and like just hug her, like, get her something to eat or stuff like that. And we need that kind of empathy, I think, with kids, not just with their friends and peers, but I think with other people around them, other people in their surroundings as well, whether it's your mom, your friends, your sisters, your cousins, or just people you don't even know for that matter. Um, Something very funny, there are these memes about how women who, like strange women, women you don't know who you bump into, in like a pub's washroom. They can be so helpful and like they're so sweet to you. You can tell them their entire life story and they'll be like, yeah, I get you. It's true. I've been there. Um, Strangers are really within women. Strangers are really empathetic towards each other. I've been in a bathroom of like Escobar where somebody was like, oh, I have my period, and I was like, yeah, here's a pad. Imagine having that kind of empathy on a larger scale. That would be beautiful.
And I think that's where it has to go beyond women to women. You know, amongst guys, you have this thing, right, where you have a friend who keeps a condom in his wallet, and like whenever you need it, you have that. I mean, that the story you just told me just like struck that, it made that connection in my head. But that's the thing. Why are these a girl to girl or a guy to guy thing? It's weird that unknowingly we have this distinction, and I mean, it might be knowingly as well because we're too embarrassed to talk about it otherwise. But Sanjana, speaking about this business and like the business side of things, how did you go about getting to Pink Box? Why? I mean, you said that this is where the seed of doing something in menstrual wellness popped into you in when you were in school.
Yeah.
But school to starting your company, that must have been a few years there. How? What was the push? What was the background? What was required to do it? And as you said, it's such a taboo, hush hush topic. How did you get people to speak about it? How do you tell people about it?
Post BCom, I remember we had a round of placements in our college, and I made it through the final round of one particular company, which was based in Gurgaon. So my dad was like, no, 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 you're not moving away to Gurgaon. I was based in Mumbai then. Um, and during the interview, I was asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And draw your Wikipedia page how you would want it to look in 5 years. So I doodled a couple of stuff and then um, wrote down a couple of things as well. And then the interviewer, who was the founder of the company, he said, oh, what's this particular venture? And I said, it's called, I don't remember what it was called. But at that point, I wanted to start a venture in the feminine merchandising and retail space. So I'm a nerd. I love all things nerdy. And this was back in, I think, 2015. Avengers was already a big thing. And if I wanted a shirt, I would have to buy a men's size medium. There would be no women's sizes at all. And I didn't realize it at that point. It happened so naturally, so organically. And then he was like, why women in particular? And then I didn't really know. But then I reflected and I was like, no, I want to work in a space where, I can contribute to women in some way and maybe to children also in some way. And I think that's when that seed of entrepreneurship, again, kind of, it was just there. It wasn't really nurtured, but it was just there. Um, Suppose that when I was applying for MBA, I came across this innovation and entrepreneurship program in Symbiosis, SIBM Pune, and they had a really lovely program. And when I got into that program, we were only the third batch to graduate in the innovation and entrepreneurship specialization. During the first year, we had a lot of tools that helped us kind of research our industries better. Between the first and the second year, we also had to do an internship in a field of your choice. So start working on your B plan immediately. I worked in a startup that was in the merchandising and retail space and realized it was very competitive already at that point. And I just went into a big low after this where I was like, oh, my idea is not going to work out. What have I done coming here? Why did I choose this field? So just gone for a job and all of that. And then slowly I started picking up on a couple of things that were happening around me. Our course was an on-campus course, and we had this girls of SIBM kind of WhatsApp group where once in a week we would always have an incident where somebody would be like, hey, I'm in the academic blog, does someone have a sanitary pad? And somebody else would text saying, yeah, I have it. So that was one instance. And for about 2,000 women on campus, we had one store that would stock, all these essentials. And they would only have like the popular brands like your Whispers and your Stacey's. And not everybody uses those brands. And we're very brand conscious and brand loyal in this space. That was number two. And thirdly, our mess is supposed to be one of the best, dining hall messes in India, but it really was. The food wouldn't give you a lot of nutritional value. I personally lost, I think, 6 to 7 kgs just in semester one, and that made me realize we're really not getting the kind of nutrition we need during that those 5 days. So a lot of research kind of followed that. And I spoke to a couple of my mentors about, I want to work in this field. What do you think? A lot of people said it's going to be a difficult field to crack because, the stigma in India and all of that. But yeah, I spoke to a lot of other women on campus. I spoke to teachers on campus. I had 3 to 4 mentors, male and female, who guided me and scanned through a lot of forums, did a couple of pricing tests. And I realized we want everything we need during our period. If we get it, at our doorsteps, that's exactly what we as women need during that time, right? And we wanted to go beyond just being a sanitary pad delivery service, right? We have Dunzo to do that. We have, like Zeptos and Blinkits to do that. But period care goes beyond just having your period essentials with you, right? You really got to focus on your body and what your body needs during that time. And that's how the Pink Box was born. Post college, I started working with a couple of nutritionists, a couple of dietitians, a couple of gynecologists who kind of advised me about what we can ideally put in the box. I realized why it's important to have food that doesn't have preservatives as well. And yeah, I think I skipped a point. In my final year, in the final semester, we had a B plan pitch competition where I said, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's, see how it is. And it was I worked on it for about 2-3 days, the whole pitch. And, there's something called a BMC, which is a business model canvas. All of that. I worked on it for about 2 days and I won the competition. I won about 75K, and that served as my seed funding. And I come from a family of chartered accountants and engineers. Nobody in my immediate family has been an entrepreneur. So kind of convincing them to kind of help me with that seed capital would have been difficult. But winning that competition, which was judged by entrepreneurs, was really, I think it served as the backbone for me to actually start the Pink Box. So I use that cash to kind of build a website and get our basic inventory in. The ping box that we have right now, I think this is the third design of the ping box that we have. Earlier, it was just a white box which had like a sticker on it, which had our logo and our social links. That's pretty much it. And then our second pivot had, just some very basic things, a little more about the brand. And as we started getting more consumers, as we started understanding our users better, I kind of invested in a better designer who also did her share of market research, who built this really beautiful box for us. And we've actually been featured in Elle magazine as one of the top five subscription boxes in India. And I think they focused on the packaging as much as they focused on what we were offering. So yeah, that's how I started the ping box. That's how we started the subscription service. And then in 2020, during the lockdown, that's when we got time to speak to our consumers. Everybody was sitting at home. People actually had time on their hands to have a conversation with us. We spoke to consumers about what they wanted in this field, and we realized there was a lot of talk about sustainability in this space and sustainable period products, but people didn't know what products they could use. People didn't know how they could use these products, and people weren't even sure why they should use these products. So we started collaborating with a lot of brands that had the same vision as us, which is to see a period positive society, to see India as a period positive society. And we built our marketplace.
Sanjana, you're in a very cluttered space. You're also in a very commoditized space. And I kind of want to go over the numbers. So what have you been able to sell? What are your costs? And what has it been like running the company money wise?
And you started with 75,000 rupees.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, we had friends and family invest after that. Um, we priced the ping box at 500, and we really wanted to maintain that balance between necessity and luxury, right? Our product doesn't fall in either category completely. It falls right in the in the middle, right? So we priced it at 500, and we made a decent margin out of that. We had a lot of people who went for it because it was a new product, so they didn't mind spending a lot. If it's an established product like skincare, for example, especially something that's been vetted by like dermatologists, you wouldn't mind putting a lot of money into it. But 500 was a good price point for us to start at, and that really worked for us. We're in a cluttered space. I don't think so. There aren't a lot of period subscription box companies in India. There are a lot of subscription box companies for sure.
There are a lot of sanitary pad companies, though, and very prominent ones.
Yeah, what works for us is that we don't manufacture them. So we basically work on spreading awareness about what is sustainable periods, how you can, how you can have a zero waste period. Why should you have zero waste periods? How is it helpful for you as well as the planet? That's what we really focus on. We've got 20 plus brands on our marketplace right now. We're looking to onboard more pretty soon. And we made sure that it wasn't only sanitary pad brands that we worked with, right? Like I mentioned before, period care isn't only about period products. It's a very holistic thing. You have to care for yourself as well. Although we did start with working with companies that made menstrual cups and biodegradable pads, we soon started speaking to companies who made PCOS and PMS herbal teas. We work with companies who make all natural period pain relievers. Not a lot of people might know this, but migraines before and during your periods are also very common. So we started working with a company that makes not only period pain relief products but also anti-nausea products, and headache relief products, and all of these are completely natural, no drugs, no chemicals, and that's been our approach: sustainability and eco-consciousness, and no drugs and chemicals.
If we give you $2 million today, what are you going to do with the money?
$2 billion, right? Definitely work on more awareness in the country about periods. Right, we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and there's an equal number of people who say, "Yes, I've heard about the pink box," and "Oh, what is this?" And also, there's an equal number of people who say, "Yeah, but why should I even use menstrual cups?" And people who say, "Menstrual cups have changed my life." So I would definitely work on awareness about sustainable periods, especially. I wouldn't really focus on our subscription box, which is very funny because that's what we started with. Because from a very business point of view, subscription models aren't really working too well in India, right? Case in point, Fab Bag. You guys have probably heard of Sugar Cosmetics. It's run by Vinita Singh. She's one of India's very first sharks. They started with this product called Fab Bag, which was a beauty subscription box, and they closed it down not too far back, not too long ago. I actually met Vinita Singh in a seminar in 2019. It was led by Facebook, and when I spoke to her about the pink box, her first feedback was, "Don't do subscription box in India. Do anything else." There was also something that made me realize कि ठीक है, subscription as a model is not too sustainable in India, so we really need to diversify. Apart from going towards what our customers really wanted, which was info, awareness, and access to sustainable period products, this was another motivator for us to kind of diversify our business model beyond subscription into market.
$2 million. What are we doing, Sanjana? Other than just awareness, what else would you do with the $2 million? Is it just going to be marketing?
Marketing money for sure. The digital space is definitely very crowded when it comes to marketing. So I'll definitely catch hold of a great performance marketing person, probably. But awareness would still be point number one on my list.
Sanjana, you sort of taken into my point, which was going to be about subscription boxes and the fact that India as a whole doesn't really do subscription boxes too well. Even something as common as milk in newspapers, the original sort of subscription boxes in India, we always like to post pay. And we're like, okay, we'd like to like write down every day how much is what is coming, what's not coming, and then we end up paying at the end of the month. So what else are you doing apart from subscription boxes? What are your diversified things? What are the products that the Pink Box offers today?
So our marketplace is what we've diversified into beyond the subscription box. We've got period pain relievers, we've got PCOS and PMSTs. When I speak about sustainable period products, we've got menstrual cups, we've got period underwear, we've got biodegradable pads and tampons. And the reason behind having biodegradable periods and tampons are because people are still iffy about using products like menstrual cups and tampons, which go inside your body, right? We still have this whole taboo around like virginity around in India. And that's why people are very wary of using products like menstrual cups. And from a usage point of view as well, choosing a cloth pad or a biodegradable period product, habit wise, it's exactly the same as wearing a regular sanitary pad, which is what we've been using for so long. It's just that if you use a biodegradable pad, it decomposes back into the environment after about 6 months. If you use a cloth pad, it's reusable. Period underwear is another great option. People are really loving it. It's worn like a regular underwear, and it's got this really great absorbency capacity, which is really good. So yeah, period products, which is menstrual cups, period underwear, cloth bags, biodegradable pads, and tampons. We've also got anti-acne lotions because, like I said, period care goes beyond just period products. A lot of us tend to get acne before and during our periods. We wanted to address that. Like I mentioned earlier, we get migraines and like really bad back pain, thigh pain, stomach pain um, during our period, and we want to address that also, but again in a very conscious, very drug free, and medicine free kind of approach. So we work with brands that base their products in Ayurveda that are approved by the Ayush Ministry. And we've also got a couple of health packages, right? And this is something we did during the lockdown as well. We have, face yoga and health yoga, cardio yoga packages. PCOS is something that I really want to speak about, right? We've got consultations for women who have been diagnosed with PCOS. PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a condition where cysts grow around your ovaries, and that stops the process of ovulation. You get delayed periods. It also causes a lot of other health problems, right? Difficulty in gaining and losing weight, male pattern baldness in females, a lot of hair growth on the face and arms and all of that. And PCOS is also a contributor to depression amongst Indian women. A lot of it is linked to, I think, how we view ourselves socially. And the problem with PCOS in India is it isn't as well researched as a lot of other health problems, right? And when our consumers have gone to gynecologists, especially if they've taken their daughters and gone to gynecologists, they've been given medication that it regularizes your period, but doesn't really go into the root cause of fixing the problem with the cysts or going deeper into the issue with your hormones. So we work with nutritionists, we work with healthcare providers who take a very natural, very diet based, very exercise and nutrition based approach to solving PCOS. And we've seen our consumers have an almost 100% success metric with the programs that they've enrolled with the pink box as compared to what they've experienced with gynecologists. So it's a very wide we've got a really wide range of period related products on our platform.
Got it.
How did your family react? How did your family react to knowing that you'll be working with period products?
My dadi was very iffy. She said, do you really want to work in this field? And what will people say and all of that? My nana is a doctor and he was very supportive. And post MBA, he said, you should take up some, OBGYN courses that help you understand this better. I was like, no, I'll probably focus on the business side instead. He's been very supportive. My parents have been extremely supportive. I remember we were in Goa on like a little family vacation, and me and a cousin got our period, and we were still like, yeah, whatever, we don't care. And we went for the whole parachuting thing, and then they dip you into the water and all of that. And then my dad didn't join us, for that experience, but he was the one who got us, like a new pack of pads and like new clothes and everything from the place that we were staying at. And I know for a fact that not a lot of dads in our country do that. So I'm really proud of that. So yeah, family has been super supportive. Menstrual Hygiene Day is celebrated on 28th May every year. And in 2019, we started this campaign called Gift a Pack of Pads, where we raised funds of over a lakh completely from our community. And we use these funds to help people who aren't as privileged as us to, gain access to sanitary pads and also information about, the biology behind periods. And I wasn't married at the time, but one of our biggest contributors was actually my in-laws, and they've been so supportive throughout. I think also in the Indian context, a lot of times, post marriage, there's a lot of, what will your husband's family say and all of that. But I've not had to face that. Luckily, they've been super supportive. They've been very proud. Every time, we've got an article on the Pink Box published, my father-in-law is the first person who will forward it on all his business groups, his friends and family groups that, Bahu ne ye kiya hai and feature aaya hai and everything. So that's really encouraging. Love that.
Love it, Sanjana. I mean, that's amazing how family has been such a massive backbone. If you had to point out one thing that was sort of a roadblock or a, obstacle, I don't want to really use the word obstacle, challenge, you can say, whatever, however, adversity, whatever you want to call it, what would you say was that? And in your journey, what was that like? And how did you go about overcoming it, or are you still working on overcoming it? What's that?
The fact that I'm a solopreneur, it's always been a challenge. There's a lot you have to balance at once. There's a lot that's on your plate. And initially, I was only 24 when I started the Pink Box. I was like, no, I'll do everything, and the world is my oyster. But as you go deeper into business, you realize there's nothing better than delegating. I got freelancers and experts who were, in certain fields to take over a couple of things, and I could just focus on the business. Um, so it's something that I think I've overcome that. But also, I think every day the business landscape is really evolving, especially with digital, right? I spoke to someone recently. She makes these really beautiful handmade products, and she's on the business side as well as she makes the products as well. And she said, I want to spend more time being creative and not working around what the algorithm is telling me to do. And I think that's a challenge that all entrepreneurs are facing every single day. Um, that's one challenge I think I'm working on constantly every single day. And I think there are a lot of people in the same boat.
So, speaking of people in the same boat, we just spoke to Ananya. Her episode will be out by the time before yours. But she was telling us that when she started, she was, very involved in her design process and everything like that. And now she has become chief talker. And like she's just on, client calls and admin work the entire day. So, what you're saying really hits home there.
Loneliness has been a constant topic of discussion with founders. I feel people who go for a job, they have the whole social aspect of meeting other people. And being a founder, you are at the top of the hill and you are kind of lonely. Being a solopreneur with so much responsibility and nobody to actually, have an echo chamber with, what was that like? Like starting out, even you, it's a completely new experience. How did you tackle that?
I cried a lot. Just get it out of my system. Um, but no, I think really focusing on the vision and focusing on what I wanted to do with the big box really pushed me towards doing better and really scaling up. I think it's very important to have that razor focus in your vision. And every day, I would wake up and I would look at, my kind of like my organizer or my planner or my chart and be like, okay, this is my vision. This is what I have to accomplish today. And that's pretty much it. And just focus on that.
I mean, it's a massive thing because I remember before we started Thought Bistro and before we did all this, I was wanting to do a couple of things on my own. And the hardest thing used to be just because you're the only person sort of driving yourself. How, like, the motivation, the moment that drops, 1 week, 10 days, 1 month, there's a lot of motivation. But then when that desired result doesn't happen, I mean, Akhil and I have noticed this that, there's often times where we're just picking each other up and being like, you know what, it's all right. Look at the bigger picture. This is the, don't forget what we're going towards. But just when I was trying to do something on my own, when the motivation dropped, it dropped. How did you, like, what was your way of picking that back up? And, how did you go about that? Because that was the biggest challenge I faced and I was not able to overcome that. So, is there anything that you've done in particular?
Not me in particular, but our consumers. People really loved the product. People were, writing in to me on our email addresses, on our social channels, telling us how much they love the pink box. We had a lot of guys in 2020 when the lockdown hit, sending boxes to their wives who were in different cities, to their girlfriends. Um, we've actually had somebody. He stays in Dubai, and every month in I think 2020 through 2021, he would send a box to his wife who was in Mumbai, and they're finally together in Dubai. And still, he was like, if you're shipping it, I'll still go for it. But yeah, we ship only pan India right now, not local, but hopefully one day. So that kind of stuff really kept me going, People would just write and saying, I love the box so much and I was having a really bad day and then I got your box and it's so cute and I just completed I finished up the entire box of crackers in like one sitting and stuff like that. So I think the appreciation our consumers had for us really kept me going, genuinely. Um, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Let's expand on that. First customer, first hire, first order.
First return, first unhappy customer, and first fire as well.
Oh God.
Let's do all of those.
All right. I think first hire was actually somebody in content. She was, I think, 19, and um, I think the way she wrote was just so beautiful. And when we spoke to her, she had a similar idea of what she wanted periods to be like in India. And I think just matching on that same, I think just being on that same wavelength was just drew us towards her. So I think our first hire in content, our first hire was in content, and we worked with her for about a year and a half. And yeah, great experience. First fire was actually um, really upsetting. It was this social media company that I was working with. And I actually met the founders at this co working space that I was working out of. And it was an agency run by three female founders, and they completely identified with what the Pink Box was doing. I think I worked with them for about a year and a half. And I got to know towards the end of my journey with them that a competitor brand had kind of poached them. So in my mind, it was like, oh, big, trust is not there anymore, and like I was completely dramatic during that phase. But also, I think the performance was falling overall. I think what really happened was because we were all working out of the same co-working space. They're really lovely women. We had this really lovely bond also. So to kind of see that kind of deteriorating, the performance, what they were doing for us, that kind of just kept deteriorating a little bit, and that wasn't really what we wanted. Um, so that was my first fire, which was very heartbreaking. Because we were also we vibe really well on a personal level, and they had a beautiful vision for their marketing agency, which was something that I believed in also. So that was a very heartbreaking experience.
What about first customer?
First customer was somebody from, I think, first customer was somebody based in Mumbai. First customer who wasn't through like the initial friends and family and all of that. And she came across our socials, and she was like, the content you guys are putting out is really nice, and now I really want to try your product. And yeah, the review was also really lovely. Again, she was like, this was so good. It came to me, and I was feeling really down. And we deliver the pink box 5 days before your period hits. So it's during the PMS time. Your hormones are kind of just going up and down. You're feeling all crazy and very low on energy as well. So this box really perked her up. It gave her kind of a serotonin boost, a boost in like her sugar levels as well, a boost in her mood. That was our first customer. First return, in my mind, it was very silly, but everybody has their own opinion. We had these little boxes of like these moisturizing lotions that went into the box at that point, and everything was sealed and everything. And this person wrote to us saying that it was broken and it looked half used and everything. And at that point, I would personally pack each and every pink box. So I knew that wasn't true. But she had a lot of conviction in what she said. Ki, no, some of your packaging people have, used half of this box of, moisturizer and sent it across. That was our first return. That was our first refund. Very annoying to, face that as an entrepreneur. And also, I remember.
I was going to add to the customer, like your first customer bit. I think there is a mental thing with receiving a package,
Yes.
and like when you receive that package, automatically there is a boost that, oh, a new thing has come. And I think the advantage with a product like yours, especially for the time when it's targeted, I think that initial serotonin boost, and along with all the goodies that one has chosen personally, is something that is, a big pick me up. So I can completely understand that thing.
Yeah, and also the fact that if you choose a 3 month or a 6 month subscription of our box, every month you'll get a new mix of goodies, right? Your sanitary essentials will be the same because, like I mentioned, it's a very brand loyal product, right? But every month you have a new set of sweets coming to you. You have a new set of stress busters and snacks coming to you. That element of surprise also helps build that excitement.
Sanjana, one line, just one line, like 10 words. What's your vision?
See India as a period positive society. One of our customers who had gone for a 6 month subscription, towards the end of her subscription, I think she already received 5 boxes. When she received her sixth box, she sent us a picture saying, this is not there and this is not there. And, along with the snacks and the goodies and all of that, we've also got these really lovely teas that, like chamomile tea, for example, it helps to kind of calm your mood down. And we had these couple of iced tea bags as well. So she sent us a picture and she said, "Mera iced tea nahi hai isme." And the iced tea bag was literally there. And I was like, "Ma'am, hai, aapke photo mein hai, mujhe dikh raha hai." And I was like, wow, people can be really funny.
I don't know why, but like I have seen this in India. We tend to take deliveries and these things so much for like, we want everything to be 500% authentic. Like, and that's why I think also now, because we have built this reputation for ourselves, returning a product becomes that much harder because people don't know. And like obviously you've had these experiences on a first hand basis, so you know better than I do. But if anyone ever wants to return something, you have to show so much that okay, yes, this is wrong. Early days of the podcast, I had called for a tripod and the tripod came wonky, and I was like, I want to return this. And Amazon was like, no, you cannot return this. It literally took me 10 days to get a return processed. And I was like, this is so tedious. But I guess with you, it has to be the case.
The cultural shift in India moving to online shopping is much, much bigger than the West. I'll tell you why my opinion is that way. Is because when you go to a store in India, let's say you buy a toy, for the younger one, you will open the toy in the store, check out if it works, put the batteries in, and see if it is functional. Even for phones, you go to a store and buy a phone, they will unbox the phone for you, show you the phone, show you it switches on, and show you it's working. On online, you're completely. Yes, even that. They'll even log it in for you, put your SIM card, and be like, "Lo, sir, everything is ready now."
And put your data in it.
Online shopping is such a drastic change. While in the US, even if you were to go to a shop and get like a phone, they would give you a box and you'd get the box home and then do like a proper unboxing, waiting, and all that stuff, right? So that's the challenge. But maybe the shift will happen sooner or later.
Dude, I remember in the US, like returning anything was such a ease. It's a breeze on the other end. Like everyone's like, yeah, yeah, sure, go for it. Just put it in the thing and we'll process the return.
My building has a box. You can literally go and put your box in that box and they'll just pick it up from the building itself. The UPS just takes it from the building.
You're returning to Amazon, you have to show them the packaging, you have to show them the box, you have to show them, like the guy who will come to take the return is like a CSI officer trying to inspect everything. That what is the thing that you've tampered with? It's hilarious.
And it was even more difficult for us because we would customize each and every box to, as per our consumers' requirements. From a business perspective, getting a return was a complete loss on the entire product. Once the product is opened, our boxes are sealed because it's a personal hygiene product, right? You need people to trust that it's been built specifically for you. Once it's been opened, it's gone. You cannot use it again. It was a complete loss for us. But also, Akhil, what you mentioned about, I think, offline shopping in India, you see the product and then you're like, okay, lay low. I think that also makes me think about how trusty are we as, shoppers, right? Um, that's probably a reason why subscription models don't really work in the country as well. We're a little iffy about paying upfront because you don't really know what you might get in the next round.
Especially physical goods. Digital goods,
Especially physical.
Yeah, digital goods, it's still easier. Getting a Netflix subscription, Amazon, all of this. Firstly, they're cheap. Secondly, movie is a movie, right? It can be replicated. Physical goods are a little tough sell.
But yeah, all in all, it's been lovely working in this field. In 2020, especially when, it was a very difficult period for everyone, but for us personally at the Pink Box, it was a year where we had a lot of wins. I was interviewed by NewsX. It's a news channel, obviously, on how through the Pink Box we were crushing period stigma in the society. We also did a collaborative period horrors campaign with Popcast with Garima, where we had women kind of speak about what was their period horror experience. For some people, it was not having the products when they wanted. For some people, it was stuff like I was sleeping over at my boyfriend's place for the first time and I got my period and like the entire bed was spoiled and stuff like that, which can be pretty horrid for some, embarrassing as well. I spoke about our gifter pack of pads campaign earlier, right? In 2020, we in the first 3 weeks of the lockdown, sanitary pads did not come under the essential goods list that the government had put out. So there were a lot of women, especially in containment zones, who had no access to period products. And imagine, you're used to using sanitary pads for like 30, 40 years of your life, and suddenly you can't even go out of your house, out of your zone, right? And that was really shocking to us. And we worked with a couple of NGOs in India to actually deliver sanitary pads to these women. And first of all, it was not only the access that they were happy with, but we also source these pads from the Asmita Yojana team. They're under the State Mission Management Unit, and it's basically a part of the Maharashtra State Rural Livelihoods Mission. These pads are made by women who stay in rural areas of India. They are completely natural, and women are actually paid to make the products, and they also get a percentage of the sales. So it actually empowers these women because they're able to contribute to their households as well. It's not just I'm sitting at home, I'm doing like chores, fetching water, and to be able to contribute financially to your household, that's very empowering for a lot of it.
That is so dumb, though. How can sanitary pads not be an essential item?
Crazy.
I know, right?
It is crazy, especially in a lockdown. Oh my god, that must be horrifying for some people.
Especially in a lockdown in a country like India. I mean, like, I am stunned to even. I can't even imagine that for 3 weeks this was the status quo. It's crazy, and that too with all the uncertainty at that point. Like that was probably the worst time ever, because that was the time where you were like, oh yeah, you touch something, you get COVID. You COVID will do this, COVID will do that. So the rumors are flying all over the place. Second, you don't have access to what is going on. Oh, it's crazy.
And doesn't that tie back to, where we are at on an awareness point in the country with the government not classifying this as an essential item?
I mean, it sounds so. I'll going to give an example, which is going to like probably be very, very, very on the edge. But we recently had a faux pas on our end where there was a thumbnail where there was a very, very basic grammatical error, and we'd spent a good half an hour looking at that thumbnail, and neither Akhil nor I had figured out that there was a grammatical error. 12 hours later, someone told us that, hey dude, you've mixed up the what is it, article a and an. We said an photographer rather than a photographer. This sounds like an error as daft as that.
Dumb, yeah. It's just dumb. Like I can't digest it only. It's like saying food is not. You're not gonna get food for 3 weeks.
It's crazy.
You're not gonna get water for 3 weeks. So stupid.
That's what I'm saying. It's sounding as dumb as messing up a and an.
And if you think about people in a very literal sense, like you mentioned, Vishwa, there's rumors are flying over, you touch someone and you'll get COVID, you're not allowed to go out of your house, and there you are, like literally bleeding out. That's
You don't have masks. You don't even know about masks. Like, you're standing on the top of your roof and bajawing a thali for Christ's sake. Like, you don't have anything to do.
yes.
You're, you know, like everything is just all over the place. And and on top of that, you don't have like the one basic product that like you really, really need. And that's not classified as a
And speaking of that, Vishwat, we did our thali bajawafying and like noise and this and that for our COVID warriors. But so many of our COVID warriors were nurses and doctors who had 12-hour shifts in PPE kits while on their period, while wearing sanitary pads, which you can't touch, you can't, adjust where you kept it. You're getting that weird, kind of moist, unhygienic feeling, but there's literally nothing you can do about it. Just go about your shift. And one of my friends who was actually a COVID warrior, she's a doctor at Sion Hospital, she kind of told me about this, and that's when I really processed it. It can be even when you're at home, just sitting on your bed, chilling, just taking the day off because you have your period. Going 6 to 8 hours with just one sanitary pad, it's not very hygienic and it's not very comfortable either. And imagine doing that in a PPE kit, working in a government hospital, right? It can be pretty sad, to be very honest. But yeah, then her and we spoke to a couple of vendors who we work with, and we were able to get them these long wear absorbent sanitary pads. And I think that was again a big win for us. I think we benefited just about 15 to 20 female COVID warriors at that point. But whatever, I think even if it's a small part you play and it helps someone.
Every little bit helps.
Every little bit.
Every little bit helps. Wow, Sanjana. I mean, there's realizations galore. So we have a tradition on our podcast where our previous guest has left a question for you, and we would like you to answer that question and leave a question for our next guest. So the question for you is, how do you know that you found the thing that makes you so happy that you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life?
Cliche, but ikigai. I really believe in that concept. I feel like menstrual hygiene is my ikigai. It is my reason to be. I found that nice spot in between where, it's what the world needs, it's what makes you happy, and it also gets you money. So I think I've really found my ikigai. And yeah, like I mentioned, the first review we got, when we've had these awareness drives, people coming up, kids coming up to me and saying, "Thank you, Didi, aapne itna sara bataya, mujhe pata hi nahi tha," and all of that. Just feedback and appreciation for what you do. I think that really keeps me going. I think I've really found my ikigai in this field.
We have your question.
Okay.